Okay, good morning. So we are doing today Dav Zion Amud Aleph, or at least part of it. We're in the middle of Amud Beis. What we finished yesterday is about 5 lines down from the beginning of the white lines. So we'll start Amar Rav Chisda, Gesham Sheyardu Kedei Logov Behen Pi Chavis. If you have rains that are coming down sufficiently that you're able to stop up a barrel with it, right? Meaning, when you have rain that's going to come down very little, you can't do much with it. But when the rain comes down in a strong enough quantity that it makes the ground muddy, then you can take that mud and you can cover up a barrel with it. So if it comes down sufficiently like that, if the rain comes down sufficiently enough that the ground becomes muddy, and you can take that mud and use it to stop up to cover the mouth of a barrel, so ein behem mishum va'atzar. It doesn't have the curse of va'atzar, right? When we say in the pasuk that when we say in Shema, if the Yidden Chas Hashem are not going to be serving their benefit, they're going to serve instead idols. So the pasuk says, "V'atzar mitar shamayim," right? The Hashem is going to close off. So if there's enough rain that it's made the ground muddy, then by definition that means you don't have the v'atzar. Hashem is not closing off the rain. The Amar Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda says additionally, "Geshamim sheyardu kaidem v'atzar, ein bahen mishum v'atzar." And Rav Chisda says that if the rain fell before v'atzar, what does it mean before v'atzar? Rashi says before the Zman Kriyas Shema. Before v'atzar means before Zman Kriyas Shema. The Rabbeinu Chananel, the Rabbeinu Gershman, I'm not sure that they say exactly Zman Kriyas Shema, but before you said Kriyas Shema, not said before the Zman of Kriyas Shema. So either way, so if you have a rain that falls before v'atzar, then ein b'hem mishum v'atzar. So if the rain falls, say before the Zman of Kriyas Shema, then that rain will not be a kiyum then you will not be able to say v'atzar. In other words, it's not a negative thing. The rain is fantastic. It's a wonderful thing. Rain that falls before the Zman of Kriyas Shema, where you say v'atzar, is by definition not a kiyum of v'atzar. It is in fact good rain. But now the Gemara wants to qualify that. And the Gemara says, really, any rain that falls before the Zman of Kriyas Shema is by definition not a kiyum of v'atzar, and therefore it's a good rain? Not necessarily. It could be that there is a time when you have a certain slight rain that comes where it could still be a kiyum of v'atzar. Amar Abaya, lo yamar and elokaidim v'atzar de'urta. We're only talking about a situation where you are talking about the evening Shema, right? So we have a chiyuv to say Shema 2 times a day. V'shakvav kumecha. So in the evening time, we have a chiyuv to say Shema. That time period, if there's rain that fell before that, period of time, then we would say that rain is a good rain, and so that rain would not be a kiyum of v'atzar. Avol koidem v'atzar. I'm sorry. Avol koidem v'atzar tzafra yesh mehen mishum v'atzar. But if you're talking about a situation before v'atzar tzafra, in other words, before Zman Kriyas Shema of the morning, so then there could be a kiyum of v'atzar in that rain. How is that? So Amar Yehuda bar Yitzchak, Hani Anoni Ditzam for Lesbu Meshasha. The rains, the clouds that come in the morning, it doesn't have any mamashes. So since those rains don't have any mamashes, rains that fall before the morning Zman Kriyas Shema, in other words, they're considered to be very slight, and it can still be a kiyum of v'atzar. And Habaraya from a pasuk that tells you that the morning rains are not so special. The chsiv goes straight in pasuk ma'as Ephraim. Right, Hashem is, as it were, saying, "What am I going to do with you, Ephraim?" Right, that's the one half of the Jewish people. Ma'as Yehuda, right, the other half of the Jewish people. B'chaz b'chem kanan b'ker, right, your chesed, your good deeds, your way of acting. In other words, it's a diatribe that the Navi Hosea say. He's not saying a compliment about the Jews. He's saying you're not acting well. He's comparing the great chesed, the great deeds, the actions of the Jewish people to what? To the Anan Boker, to the morning clouds. In other words, you're ephemeral. In the same way that the clouds of the morning, the rain of the morning is ephemeral. It's not substantive. So too, that's what your actions are like the Jewish people. And so therefore now, Rav Chisda's statement of Gesham Sheyardu Kainam V'atzar, rains that fall before V'atzar, which Rav Chisda is saying, and therefore it's not a kiyum of V'atzar Sashemayim. Abai is qualifying that and saying, yes, that's true, but only if it's kind of v'otzar of kreshma shel arvis. But rains that fall kind of kreshma shel shachrit, that could still be a kiyum of v'otzar because that's not considered to be a real substantive rain. It's like the chesed of the Jewish people that was compared to the non-biker, which was a way of negating it, a way of saying how weak their chesed was, how weak their ma'asim type were. It wasn't anything special. Okay, so I think about so I'm Rav Papa Abaya. So Rav Papa now asks Abaya, you saying over this explanation that the morning clouds are ephemeral. They're not really anything special. The rain that comes from them is nothing to write home about, and therefore it can still be a kiyum of atzar. So I'm Rav Papa Abaya. So Rav Papa asks Abaya a question, and this question is familiar to all of us who just finished brachas because it was literally in the Gemara there. So the Gemara says, "V'amri," in the Gemara there on Nuntes. So the Gemara said that Rav Papa asked Abaya, "V'amri inish." Right, but people say, when you open your door, mitra, and there's a lot of rain, bar chamra, right, donkey driver, fold up your sack and go to sleep. In other words, the donkey driver is opening up his door in the morning because he's ready to go for business. And he opens, he sees it's pouring. So what's the saying? The saying to the chamor, to the donkey driver is, go fold up your sack. In other words, go fold up your saddle. Go fold up your implements to go out and to go driving your donkey around. It's interesting here. Rashi says that what we're talking about is a situation of, if you look at the wide line, the first wide line of Rashi. So Rashi says what the Gemara is saying is Yikapel Chamar Shemechetz Vuasa. Right, the Chamar, the donkey driver who sells the grain. So what should he do? He should go back to sleep. Mimnei Shashenam is barachas, right? Because the sleep is barach, it's blessed. Right? We know on Shabbos in the Zmiros we say V'Hashena Mishubachas. This is mitzbarachet, right? So the Shena is not just praiseworthy on Shabbos, but during the week, if it's nice and raining, it's also blessed rain. For those who have overslept during a rainy day, you know what it means. Yeah. Right? And there's going to be a nice amount of food in the world. It's going to be a soiva, right? It's going to be great, the harvest. You're not going to make any money when you go sell your tzvah because everyone has a lot of grain. So Rabbi Kiva Egan, the Gilion Hashah, says, I don't know, um, you know, I'm sorry, not Rabbi Kiva Eger. So in the Sar of the Gemara, in the Mesaris Hashas, in the Mesaris Hashas, it says, at least the my Gemara says, Shama Brachas Pirish Rashi Binyan Acher. So if you look at Rashi there in Brachas, I'm not sure. I don't think Rashi's saying it Binyan Acher. It sounds like over there Rashi and Brachas is very much the same as over here. Over there, Rashi's saying, we're talking about a situation where somebody is going to be going out and selling the wheat, selling, the produce. And if it's raining nice and stark, so where are you going to go? There's not going to be any, you normally you're going to go to the place where they don't have so much, so you're going to get a better price. So I don't really see the difference between Rashi and Brachas. I mean, I'm looking for a situation I can find right that Rashi and Taanit is different. They figure with the Matzchias, but this one I don't see. I'm not sure what the Mesaris Jas is harping on. Seems to me very similar to the Rashi here to the Rashi there. It's not exact lashon, but it seems like a similar idea. In any event, so Rav Papa is asking Abaya, you're telling me you made a distinction with what Rav Chizda said. Rav Chizda said that any rain that comes before the va'atzar, any rain that comes before the Zman Kriyas Shema, that's ein ben mishum va'atzar. So now you came and qualified and said, well, actually it depends. If it's the evening Shema, then you're right, ein ben mishum va'atzar. But if it's the morning Kriyas Shema, then yesh ben mishum va'atzar, because the morning rain is not real, right? It's ephemeral. It's like the chesed of the Jewish people in the times of Isaiah. So Rav Papa is asking Abaya, but how could you say that when you see that when we have a saying that when the donkey driver opens the door and it's raining, he should go back to bed. Because why? It's going to keep on pouring all day. You see, the morning rain is not ephemeral. It's really powerful. It's really indicative of what the rain is going to be like that day. Right? That's the question that Rav Papa is asking Abaya. When you open up your door, mitra, and you see a lot of rain, so barcham and go fold up your sack, right? Go fold up your saddlebag. Go back to bed. because it ain't going to stop a whole day. So you see, it obviously that's not going to be mishum va'atzar. So what are you saying about it? Your distinction doesn't hold. Like kasha, so my answer is hadikata ba'avia, hadikata ba'anani. The question: when you open the door, what do you see? If you open up the door, right, and you have a situation where it's mamish clouds, like thick, heavy, very dark, right? 7:30. It's after the sunrise, and yet it's super dark because of all the clouds and the rain. So that's the day when it's going to keep on raining. Of course, that's amen mishum ba'atzar. That's not a question. Of course, we would agree that there's no issue of that. It's going to be a situation of ba'atzar over there. However, if you open the door and you have like a little droplets, and you see that the clouds are very, very, very ephemeral, that they're very light, so then you could say that that's like the chesed of the Jews in the times of Isaiah, and that is what Rav Chizda was saying, that it could be that when you have rains, that's not Mishum Va'atzar, it could be that's only referring to the Va'atzar, that's only referring to the rains at night, or rains in the morning when there's mamish very heavy clouds. But the rains that will come about in the morning with very, very light cloud cover, that would be considered to be ephemeral, and therefore it's Mishum Va'atzar. It could still possibly be a Kiyum Va'atzar with such a rain. Okay, so we end up in the Gemara now that you see the difference between Avim, right? We talked before about Avim, right? Anodim, the two different types of clouds. Avim are very, very thick, right? Clouds, and Anodim are going to be a much lighter cloud cover. Okay. So Rav Yehuda, Tava, L'shasa, the Tevis, Amalta. Right? Rav Yehuda said, so uh, again, using the language that we've been having before, right? That a mitra is a right. Remember the lashon of Yehuda had a little bit of yesterday, right? We had a vavma base, right? But a second of the wide lines. Rav Yehuda mitra baila the ara, right? The rain is like the husband of the ground. The husband of the ground. We used very big lashinas that sounded like very much like like male female intimate lashonis about the rain. So here you have another lashon of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is saying something similar. Rabbi Yehuda says toivel shasa. It's good for the year that Tavis on Malta, right? If Tavis is a widower, meaning our connection is that it doesn't rain in Tavis. It's good. Why? Rashi explains. If you look at Rashi says because of the fact that it already rained enough. Toivel shasa ashvea claim a toivel yesh lashana the Tavis on Malta. Eng Yesham Yarden ba. Right? It's good that when the Tavis doesn't have any rain that's coming in it, right? Because not because it's good not to have rain. It's because the rain of Mar Cheshvan, right? The rain from we already had from Cheshvan and Kislev is sufficient. Then in Tavis, let it now sort of seep in and let everything grow nice, and you don't need to have any more. Right? It's a good for the year. If it rains, when we're saying it's good for the year, but Tevis is a widower, it means if it already rained sufficiently in the months before, if it already rained very nicely in Cheshvan, right? If it already rained very nicely in Kislev, if it didn't rain in those months, of course, it's not good for Tevis to be a widower. But we're saying it in that sense, right? So, Ika da Amri Deloy Beri Tarbitze, Ika da Amri Deloy Shakal Shudfana, right? There are those that say that the reason that it's good for Tavis to be a widower is Deloy Beri Tarbitze, right? Means Rashi gives two pshatim. One pshat of Rashi is that the gardens they shouldn't be like messed up. They shouldn't be desolate. Right? Look at the second lashon of Rashi. Listen, Achina Deloy Beri Tarbitze Ganesh and Gedel Naroy Mayim. Right? Some types of vegetables, some types of gardens, giving a ton of water is okay. Let's say, for example, like a rice paddy, right? If you ever go in like in India, China, place where they grow rice, they have the rice paddy. They always say it's good for it to be in the rain, right? And deep in the rain, that's a good thing for it. But not every vegetable is like that. A lot of vegetable, if you're going to grow it like that, it's going to be destroyed. It's too much rain. You're soaking it so much that it mamish can't breathe. But that's one pshat of Rashi. Rashi is another pshat. I'm not so clear from Rashi what he's trying to say, but Rabbeinu Gershom gives a more of an insight as to what he means. I think what Rashi may also be referring to, which is as Rabbeinu Gershom says that the Bati Midrashes are able to be most full in Tavis. People have the most time to go learn. Everybody's working. They have the most time to go learn more than any other month of the year, says Rabbeinu Gershon. But Tevis Yishlam Pnai Yosem Mikol Yimos Hashana, more time than anywhere else in the year that people have to be able to learn it in Tevis. So we say it would be bad if it pours in Tevis. We want Tevis to be a widower, so people should be able to go learn, right? So that's potentially another way to understand it. Okay. So again, Rabbi Huda is saying it's good for the year if Tevis is a widower. It's one way of understanding it is that the gardens shouldn't be left destroyed because they have too much rain. And again, we're talking about it's only good for Tevis to be a widower if it already didn't rain, if it already rained, I'm sorry, sufficiently, right, in Cheshvan and Kislev. Right. The other explanation why it's good for Tevis not to be a widower is because if it rains so much, then it's possible that it could be shidafon, it could be some sort of a blight that's going to be nechaz mistabik b'tfua, and it's gonna grab on to the fields. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I guess it's also related to having too much rain that such a blight can take place. Okay, so now the Gemara asks a question. So Rav Yehuda says it's good for Tevis not to have too much rain. Again, assuming that there was enough rain in the months before. Eini, is this really true of Amar Rav Chizda Tav L'Shas the Tevis Minuvalta? But we have another statement from Rav Chizda, where Rav Chizda says that it's great if the month of Tevis is a Minuvelas. It's disgusting. Meaning, disgusting in what sense? A Minuvel. In what sense? That it rains so much. So we're saying that now that we love Tevis when it's Minuvelas. We love Tevis when it has tons and tons of rain. What happened? Like cash is starting Gemara had to ask the mitra makar, had to ask the mitra makar as Pashit. If it rained earlier the months before, if it rained in Cheshvan and Kislev, so then we want Teva Lashasa the Tevis our Malta. Then we want Tevis to be a widower. We don't want Tevis to have rain either because it's going to be too harmful for the crops, or too harmful for the base medrash brachim, or too harmful for shidduch, and whatever the reason is. But if you can have rain in Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevis, it's like, oh my gosh, enough, we're good. But if it didn't rain in Cheshvan and Kislev, then we absolutely wanted to rain when? We absolutely wanted to rain in Tevis. We needed to rain in Tevis. We needed to be Munuvelas. We wanted to pour in Tevis. So again, Pasha, just depending on what the context was of that year. But now we have another Mayim from the Rav Chizda. Yishamim sheyerdu al miktas medina, ve'al miktas medina lo yerdu. If rain fell on only certain part of the country, and it didn't fall in another part of the country, so ein bohen mishum va'atzar. That's not a kima va'atzar, right? Because you're getting a sufficient amount of rain in one part of the country, in one part of the Medina. So then, how could that be a kima va'atzar? Fred the Gemara, is that true? Eini, is that really true? V'aksiv. V'gam anochi manati mikem esageshem. Hashem, the Navi Ami says, I'm going to stop from you the rain. V'ash shlosh chadashim l'katzir. While you still have 3 months left to the harvest. In other words, you would want rain to come about till it's the appropriate time, that things have grown enough. But Hashem's saying, no, I'm going to stop the rain while you still have 3 more months left in order to be able to get to the harvest. Right? I'm going to go pour rain on one city, and I'm not going to give any rain on another city. One part of the city is going to have rain. And the chilek that doesn't have any rain is going to dry up. It's going to wither. So you see that what? That's stopping the rain early, putting the rain in one part of the city and not in another part. This is all curses. This is all terrible things. So how could you, Rav Chizda, say that Gisham Shiyar Dal Miktas Medina, Dal Miktas Medina Lo Yerdu is Amen Mishum V'Atzar? You see, Mamash Sakim of Atzar. It's part of a curse. Hashem is saying, the Jewish people are not behaving right, so I'm going to punish you. I'm going to punish you by putting rain on one part of the city, one part of the country, and not on the other part. So you see, absolutely, it is a kim of Atzar. So the Gemara says, I'm sorry, I just have to finish the next line. Do you see that this whole puzzle is talking about Laklala? You see that this whole puzzle is talking about a situation where they're both going to be a terrible situation, right? The part that they're getting the rain, the part that's not getting the rain, the whole country is all part of this klala that Hashem is giving, right? That is not it is a kim of atzar, and it doesn't sound like Rav Chizda is agreeing with that. Rav Chizda is saying it's not a kim of atzar. Yeah. So if you look at Rashi, Rashi says, "V'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Shtein leklala Eisen sheyardu v'Eisen shalay yardu. B'nei sherev Gesham kilgalas tivasam." So Rashi says that in the city which has all the rain, it also wasn't good. It also is a bad thing. Why? Because it got too much. It got too much, so it's also a klola for them. So either way, we're in a situation where it sounds like that it is the kiyum of va'ata when it only rains in one part, in one part of the country, one city, and not in the other part, not in the other city. And yet, Rav Chizda said it's not a kiyum of va'ata if it rains in one city, it doesn't rain in the other city. So the Gemara like Kasha the Asa Tuva the Asa right. So Rav Chizda answers that what we have to say is as Rashi says Ha Diika Mitra Tuva, right? It's when it's coming down Yosemidai Shtein Leklala. When it's coming down too much, right? If it's coming down too much, then it's Shtein Leklala. Right, if it's coming down in one part of the city, not in the other part of the city, in the one part of the city where it's coming down like a marble. Obviously, that's a situation where it's not. It's going to be a kiyum of atzar. It could be a kiyum of atzar sometimes, even in a situation where you have too much rain, right? It's destroying the place. It's not helpful. And hadasa kinibaya, right? This is what kinibaya. This is when it's coming down, right? Zoivi is daf design. If the rain's coming down, kinibaya. If it's coming down in the normative way, so then in even though it's only coming down in one part of the city, not in the other part of the city, so then that will be considered not a kiyum of va'atzar. And Rashi explains that's not mishum va'atzar. Says Rashi, the part of the country that they had the rain, they could sell the rain that they got to the other part that didn't get any. So everybody's going to come off okay. But when it comes down in huge amounts, in the part of the got the rain, it's not a bracha, it's going to be destroyed. And so therefore that could still be a kiyum of the atzar. So Amar Rav Ashi Dekanam Yisiv Timater. Right? If you look at the pasuk Timtar, right, it's going to rain, so you could like sort of make it what's it called when you have no, what's it called when you have something that's a short form, it's like stands for something. That's nonsense, no. Acronym. That's the one. Yeah, it was a nim. Yeah, that was close enough. A nim part. Yeah. So what does he say? Timtar or timater is to hey makom matar. Right. It should be a place of water that it's gonna if it's gonna come. That's why it's a curse in Amais because it's gonna be mamish a place so much of water. It's gonna be of rain. It's gonna be destroyed. Shmam, I think more agrees with that. It's a cute diak to say. So again, is Rav Chizda correct when we says that if it rains in one Medina, in one part of the Medina, not in the other part of Medina, that's not a kiyum of atzar? Yeah, it could be correct. It depends. If it's a situation where it rains an normative amount in one area and the other area didn't get, so it's a situation of there won't be a kiyum of atzar. It'll be good. Why? Because that the whole country could be sustained. But if it's a situation where mamish pouring down, right, in one part, so that would be a curse. That would be still a kiyum of atzar because that would be since it went down Yosemite, so that would be a klola. It does you can't really sustain it. It destroys everything. So that could still be a kiyum of the atzar. All right. So that's the Gemara. Now this Gemara is very familiar for those that just finished the brachas because we mamish had the same exact Gemara there. So Amar Abavo, when do we start making a bracha on the geshem? The Gemara there was talking about the bracha about Toiva Meitiv. And we want to know when is it that you say a bracha about Toiva Meitiv on Geshem. The Gemara says Mishiyetze Chasan Lekras Kala. When the Chasan goes to greet the Kala. Again, here you go, more of this kind of a language, very intimate language, talking about the rain. And Rashi explains that what we're saying over here, Me'emasai Mevorkan Ala Gesham, if you look at Rashi, Rashi says, I'm reading Ala Gesham at Toiva Meitiv. Some Barachin and Hach Bracha talking to Rabbanan. Right, we asked on that. Right, there's a difference between seeing the rain and hearing the rain. Kiv Eger here in the Gilin Hashas asks, but that's not actually the Maskonis like Gemara. The Gemara slugs this answer up that Rashi brings. Okay, fine. I think Rashi is bringing down that Gemara. But what is Mechas like that's Kala? So if you look at the rain, when you have a puddle and you have another drop of rain that comes into the puddle, what happens? It makes like a plop. Right, and then part of the rain jumps back out, right? If there's nothing on the ground, the rain drops and nothing happens, it goes straight in. But if there's already water on the ground sitting and the rain coming down, So then it makes like a splash, like a little splash, and the rain that's already there pops out because of the fact you just like gave a clap to the puddle. So that's what it means. Mashiach Lechatz and Likratz Kala. So the Gemara is saying that that's when you say the bracha of, or the Gemara thinks that that's when you say the bracha about Teva Metiv. The Gemara ends up saying that you don't say the bracha about Teva Metiv. And the Gemara gives another bracha that you say instead, which we're going to see in a second. What we're not going to have here is the whole debate as to when do you end up saying Teva Metiv. You have to say Teva Metiv, or do you say Shafiyanu? If it's a personal good, if it's a good for the many, and that opens up that sugya. And the Gemara over there is also bothered by why is rain specifically mentioned as something that would get a bracha about Teva Metiv? Isn't it part of the wider amount of things that happen that are good? Why would you specifically enumerate rain? That was the Gemara over there. But for our purposes now, Rav Avo says, "Me'emasai mevarchen al Gisham." When do you make a bracha on Gishamim? The Gemara says, "Mishietz chassan gaskal." You make a bracha when the chassan goes to greet the kal. In other words, when you have these kind of droplets coming into a puddle, and that's the time that you make the bracha. What's the bracha that you make? Again, we're not talking about Teva Metiv anymore over here. So I'm Rav Yehuda Amarav, Maidu Anachtalach Hashem Elokeinu. Right, when you say thank you to Hashem, Al Kol Tiba V'Tiba Asher Haradat Olam, and every little bit of rain that you've given us. Rabbi Yechon Nesayim Hach, Rabbi Yechon would end up the bracha like this. Ilu Finu Molasher Kayam, if our mouth, right, was essentially open to sing the praise of Hashem, Kayam, right, like the sea. Right, and our tongues were mamish full of praise of the Rebbeinu Shalom, like the waves, right? So obviously, this language should be familiar to us, right? It should be familiar to us from Nishmas, be familiar to us from Ishtabach. So, and the Rabbi Yechon would go on, Ad Al Yazvunu Rachamecha Hashem Lekenu, Hashem, don't remove your mercy from us, your chesed from us. Baruch Roiv Ha'idois. Right, blessed Hashem will give multitude or many, a majority of Haidah, of thanks. This is actually the way the bracha is brought down in Rechaim in Reish Chaf Aleph. That is, if you don't have rain and rain comes down, the first rain, this is the bracha that you make. If you remember, this Gemara was on Testament base, but their Taisus was on Testament Aleph. The Testament Aleph ends up saying, well, we have Rashi here on Zayin Amud Aleph is going to say something similar, which is that this becomes a part of Yishtabach. Right? What do we say at the end of Yishtabach? We say, I need, not remembering now, we say, no, right? No. What? What's the last word? Can I have a sitter? My brain is not working yet. This is we say at the end of Yishtabach, we say Baruch Hashem Kemacham Golo Batishbachas Kel Haidois Adon Aneflois Baruch Kol Shamas. Right, so we say Kel Haidois. We don't say Roiv Haidois. Does Dr. Gemara? Further more in our question. Yeah, so we just said this is the bracha that you make when you get that first rain. Yeah, says the Gemara, Roiv Haidois. You make a bracha thanking Hashem, for the majority of thanks. Like Kol Haidois, you're not giving all of the thanks. What's his lashon of Roiv Haidois, which is actually how the bracha is brought down. Amarava Ema Kel Haidois. To say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Kel Haidois, which is what we have in Yishtabach. He's the God of thanksgivings, right? Not the Roiv Haidois, not a majority of the thanksgivings. He's all of it. So it says the Gemara, Amar Papa Hilkach Naminal Tarvayu, Kel Haidois, as we turn the page down to Zayin Amud Aleph, Roiv Haidois. Right, we say both. Right, for those who were with us in Brachas, you remember we talked about the Naminal Tarvayu a number of places. We had a few different examples of it, where we decided, you know what, let's say both. Right, the Gemara in the Test, the Gemara in Samach. Right, we had a Gemara in Megillah. We had a bunch of Gemaras which said, you know what, everything's a good idea. Let's say everything. Right, we want to be Yitzhak all the days. Okay, so at this stage of the Gemara, and Rashi says over here, look at the Rashi. We do say kel haidois, right? And And what do you call it? In the bracha, as the way it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, we do say Rav Ha'idas. But in Yishtabach, we say Kel Ha'idas. So we say everything. Essentially, we attempt to say everything. Yeah. Um, okay, so now we're up to a new Gemara. But yeah, okay. Start the Gemara. Amar Ravo. Gadol Yom HaGasham M'Tchias HaMesim. Ravo says that the day of rain is greater than Tchias HaMesim. Deal also, by the way, we had this part of the Gemara. We're going to see in a second in Brachas. What do you mean it was greater than Tchias HaMesim? Deal Tchias HaMesim l'tzadikim. Why? Because Tchias HaMesim, who gets Tchias HaMesim? Tzadikim. Right? You thought everybody gets Tchias HaMesim? No. Look at the Rosh Hashanah. The Rosh Hashanah don't get Tchias HaMesim. But the Gesham come for everybody. Everybody gets the benefit of the rain, right? Even the Risham get the benefit of the rain. It's not just the tzaddikim. Rabbi Yosef, and this is a dispute. Ravo says a dispute with Rabbi Yosef. Dam Rabbi Yosef, this we had in Brachas, right? We had a more Lam Gimel. The more told us that because Rabbi Yosef's opinion, right? We were discussing what bracha is put where. So we said that the Mashav Baruch, that scar for Geshem, is put in Tchias HaMesim. Why? Because it's equal to Tchias HaMesim, not that it's greater than Tchias HaMesim. So Ravo says that Gadol Yom HaGesham is Tchias HaMesim because the Geshem comes even for the Rishayim, but Tchias HaMesim only comes for the Tzaddikim. Because Rabbi Yosef, no. The day of rain is equal to Tchias HaMesim, and that's why it's put in Tchias HaMesim. That's why it's put there, because they're essentially equal, not that it's fundamentally greater. Right? So the Rav Yehuda Gadol Yom HaGesham Kem Shenid B'Torah. According to Rav Yehuda, the day when it rains is like the day of the giving of the Torah. What do you mean? It's giving the it's like the day it's giving of the Torah, because the pasuk says Shenema Ya'arov Kamator Lechi, right? Tizakatalim Rasi, right? This is a pasuk in Parashat Zinu. Ya'arov Kamator Lechi, right? It should Lechi is my lekach, right? Is the doctrine of the Torah. So Ya'arov Kamator should pour down like the rain. Ve'en lekach al Torah. We know that lekach is a reference to Torah, not just honey cake for the Haimish people here. Yeah, that would be lekach. Yeah, all right. Shenemar. Yeah. Ki lekach tov nosati lochem teirasi al tazevu. Right. The pasuk tells us in Mishlei that Hashem says, "I gave you a great lekach. I gave you a great doctrine. I gave you a great Torah." Right. Teirasi al tazev. Don't abandon my Torah. So you see here they are synonymous. Here where they are synonymous. Yeah, we're using the synonym. Yeah. Why are they synonymous? Because you see, lekach toiv. I've given you a lekach toiv. Teirasi al tazev. Don't abandon it. So we're talking about the same thing. Torah and lekach is the same thing. That's how you know in Parashat Zinu when it says Yav Kamata Lichi, Tizakatalim Rasi, that you see that the lekach, the Torah of the Rebbeinu Shalom is coming down like the rain, and so therefore. Rav Yehuda makes sense when he's saying the day of rain is great, like the day that the Torah was given, because you see that they're connected. Says Dr. Gemara, Rava Amar Yosem Yom Shenin by Torah. Right? Rava says differently than Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says Rav Yehuda says that the day of rain is great, like the day that Mount Torah, like the day the rain was given. But Rava says no. The day of rain is even greater than Mount Torah. It's even greater than giving of the Torah. Why? Right? Look at the pasuk carefully. The pasuk says that the rain should come, that the liki, my doctrine, my Torah, should come down like the rain. Me, little but me. Which one is being totally in the other one? Have the right? The smaller one's being totally in the bigger one. So I'm saying Yarif Kamatar Liki, that my Torah should come down like the rain, because the rain is even greater. The Torah should come down to you like the rain, like just like how great the rain is. That's how the Torah should come down, meaning it's even greater. So similar machlokes that we have Rav and Rabbi Yosef, you have over here also with regards to Rav Yehuda and Rav. So then, we stop on that. So then Rav says, Rav asks a question. Look at the pasuk there again in the Hazinu. The pasuk says, Yarav kamata lichi tizal katal and rasi. Right, my imras, my sayings should be coming down like the tal. Right, should be tal or should be geshem. They're two different things. So Rava asked a question. Rava Rami, Ksiv Yaakov Adalik, Ksiv Tizak Atalim Rasi. You see that they're two totally different things. One is the dew, one is the rain. So what is it? Same time. So and obviously rain. Right? We started out the Gemara in Beis Amud Aleph. Remember the Gvuris Gesham. Rain is powerful. Right? The Tal is nice. Tal is sweet. Right? Tal never gets stopped, or at least the Tal of the minimum amount of Tal never gets stopped. Maybe the Tal of Bracha can get stopped, but remember the Gemara there, the beginning of Beis Amud Beis. So if the Tal is not Netzar ever, but it's very soft, it's very nice, it's always around. The Gesham is powerful, it comes strong, it could be hard. So which one is it? Is it the Tal or is it the Geshem? So this is Rav's question. Rav Ksiv Yaakov Lichi Ksiv Tizak Atalim Rasi Im Tal Chacham Hagen Hu Kital. If it's a good, he's a richtige person, he's a wichtige Mensch. He's the right kind of Talmud Chacham, right? Meaning he's a decent human being. He's not just a Talmud Chacham. He's a good person. The Talmud Chacham Haganu, right? And the Yuma, you say, wow, Ashrecha, first parents, first Rabbeim, everybody. He's a wonderful guy. So such a person, so Im Talmud Chacham Haganu Kital. Then it's gonna be like the Tal. Then it's gonna be like the dew. The Im Lav, or Fail Kamater. Then like rip him up like the rain. Right? Then it should be Mamash Gevurais because he's not acting so appropriate. So he needs to be right, arif like the nape of the neck, right? Give him a good zetz, right? And it should be hopefully learning a better behavior. Yeah. So Zati Gemara. Tanya, we learned in Bryson. Hey, Rabbino Omer. Rabbino used to say, "Who's Rabbino?" Phil's look about Basra. You look about Basra and Nunches. Rabbino was Mitzayim Orta. He was going out to go demarcate the graves, right? And he came upon the grave of Adam and Chava, Avram and Sarah, Yitzchak, Rivka, a whole unbelievable Gemara that we can't talk about now. It's late, but amazing Gemara. He has a conversation over there with Eliezer. Yeah, it's unbelievable Gemara. Yeah, it's a Zot Gemara. So Rabbi Noah said, "Kol Isik b'Torah l'Shema, Torah nasis le'Sam Chaim." Anybody learns Torah l'Shema, the Torah is like a life-giving elixir, right? On the other hand, if somebody doesn't learn Torah l'Shema, it's like a Sam Hamav. It's a terrible thing, right? But if you do Torah the right way, if you learn Torah the right way, then it's a Sam Chaim. It's mamish an elixir of life. Shenemer it's Chaimim l'Machazikim ba, right? Is a tree of life for those that are holding on to it. V'Omer. We have another pasuk, refuas tehi l'sorecha, right? It's going to be like mamash refuas for you. If you do it, it's going to be like misrap you. It's going to be healing you. For those that find me, it's like finding life itself. And for those who do not do Torah Lishma, they do it Shalai Lishma, so then it's going to be like poison. It's going to be a terrible thing. Right? Here we're saying that here we're saying in a very negative way. Right? Arifa, right? What you can kill an animal by shchita or arifa, right? Like the terrible way. Don't ever look at the video where they killed Daniel Pearl, the Wall Street Journal reporter, 2001, I think maybe. I watched the video. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, this horrible human being, he killed the Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl. He did it as an arifa, right? If you shach, right? So then you're taking down the simanim, you're doing it in a second. That's why the Torah allows for that. But you kill from the arifa. Imagine you kill from the nape of the neck. You're literally sawing through the person's neck before you kill them. And the shreklachkeit of that. It's unreal. So that's what we're saying over here, is that it's a sama mavish. He's not looking at it as like a bracha here. Arifa is like a hariga, and therefore it's a terrible thing. We have the pasuk right by the egla rufa, right? What you do to the egla over there when you have somebody you don't know where the person died. So we have to over here talk about the Taisvis. Taisvis says over here we also had this Taisvis. Similar Taisvis in brachas. We had in Taisvis the bottom Taisvis in Zayin Omid Aleph and brachas. We had the same Taisvis, but Taisvis also asked, is learning Torah Shalai Lishma? You're saying it's like a Sama Mamas, but don't we say Torah Shalai Lishma Ba'al Lishma? The Taisvis over there answers, and Taisvis over here also gives as that one of his answers is that when somebody's learning Shalai Lishma, if he's doing it like kanter, so then that we say is better not to have learned at all. but somebody's learning Shalom Shema, just he likes the covet or whatever, something like that. So then we tell Shalom Shema, Baal Shema. Then we're not going to say that it's a Salam Lamas. All right, so we have to stop over here.